The observation deck of the Celestial Harmony hummed with the steady rhythm of life support systems, a sound that had become as familiar to Lyra as her own heartbeat. She sat cross-legged on the polished floor, squeezing a dollop of moisturizer into her palm. The recycled air on the ship was murder on human skin, dry, itchy, and perpetually uncomfortable. After 6 months aboard the multi-species vessel, her skincare routine had become a sacred ritual. She didn't notice the pair of amber eyes watching her from behind a supply crate. Kek, a young Vraxtari barely into his second molt, crouched in the shadows with his clutch sibling. The Vraxtari were apex predators on their homeworld, bipedal reptilians with rows of serrated teeth and claws that could tear through hull plating. But Kek was only 7 cycles old, which made him roughly equivalent to a human 10-year-old, and curiosity burned hotter than caution in his young mind. "What is the human doing?" his sibling hissed, her forked tongue tasting the air. Keek's crest flared with interest. Applying some kind of substance to her skin. They watched as Lyra methodically rubbed the white cream into her arms, her face, her neck. The movements were deliberate, almost meditative. When she finished, she sighed with visible relief, her pale skin now glistening slightly under the artificial lights. "It must be a ritual," Kek whispered. "A preparation for battle, or a protective coating," his sibling added, her eyes widening. The cubs had heard stories about humans, terrifying stories that the adult Vraxtari shared in hushed tones. How humans came from a death world where everything tried to kill them. How they healed from wounds that would cripple other species. How they persistence hunted prey until their targets collapsed from exhaustion. And most frightening of all, how humans bonded with anything, even creatures that should be their predators. Lyra stood and stretched, completely unaware of her audience, then left the observation deck, humming an old Earth song. The moment she disappeared, Kek and his sibling emerged from their hiding spot. "We should try it," Kek announced. "Try what?" "The ritual. The protective coating." His tail swished with excitement. "If it makes humans stronger, imagine what it could do for us." His sibling's crest flattened skeptically. "We don't have any of the humans' substance." Kek's mind raced. They'd been on this ship long enough to learn about human facilities. The washing rooms, those strange chambers where humans cleansed themselves with water. And in those rooms, there were substances, liquids and foams and soap, Kek hissed triumphantly. "The white foam substance humans use. It looks just like what the human applied." 20 minutes later, the 2 young Vraxtari stood in the communal washroom, staring at the dispenser that produced clouds of foamy soap. Kek pressed the button, and a mound of bubbles filled his clawed hand. "It's lighter than I expected," he observed. "Maybe that's why humans can move so fast," his sibling suggested. "The coating reduces their mass." Art. With the solemn seriousness of soldiers preparing for war, both cubs began slathering themselves with soap bubbles. They covered their scales, their crests, their tails, every exposed surface. The foam slid and dripped, creating a sudsy mess across the floor. But they persisted. "I feel tingly," Kek announced. "That must be the enhancement taking effect." His sibling agreed, though she was starting to feel uncomfortably slippery. They didn't hear the door slide open. "What in the name of Terra?" Both cubs froze. Lyra stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with shock, and something that looked suspiciously like suppressed laughter. Behind her, Captain Thors, a grizzled Vraxtari veteran with scars crossing his snout, loomed with an expression of profound confusion. "Kek? Sira?" the captain's voice rumbled. "What are you doing?" Kek straightened, trying to look dignified despite being covered head to tail in soap bubbles. "We are performing the human enhancement ritual, Captain. To become stronger." Lyra's hand flew to her mouth, but she couldn't quite stifle the snort of laughter that escaped. "The what?" Captain Thors looked between his young warriors and the human. "We observed the human applying a protective substance," Sira explained earnestly. We are replicating the procedure." Understanding dawned on Lyra's face, followed by a wave of affection so strong it made her chest ache. These terrifying predator children capable of crushing bones and shredding armor when fully grown had seen her putting on lotion and decided to copy her with soap. "Oh, sweethearts," she said gently, kneeling down to their level. "That wasn't a battle ritual. My skin just gets dry. The lotion helps moisturize it." Kek's crest drooped. "So, it doesn't make you stronger?" "Well," Lyra considered, "it makes me feel better, which I suppose helps me function better. But it's not going to give you any special powers. Restarted B. We have a ground. All low in the cord. I wait with you a. I was help. Anything. Any three divider. Anything. We have a ground divider thing. Anything. Any. And what you've covered yourselves in," she continued, trying very hard not to laugh, "is soap. For cleaning. You're supposed to wash it off." Both cubs looked down at themselves, realization dawning. The bubbles were already dissolving, leaving their scales squeaky and uncomfortably clean. Captain Thorse's rumbling laugh filled the washroom. "Of all the human customs to imitate—" "Actually," Lyra interrupted, standing up, "I think it's kind of sweet." She looked at the two dejected cubs, their heads hanging low, tails dragging on the wet floor. Despite being members of a species that had once considered humans potential prey, they'd wanted to emulate her. They'd seen something she did and thought, "I want to be like that." "Tell you what," Lyra said, pulling out her communicator. "How about I show you some actual human customs? Tomorrow, I'll teach you about something called hot chocolate. No protective properties, but I promise you'll love it." Kek's head perked up slightly. "Will it make us more like humans?" "No," Lyra smiled. "But it might help you understand us better. And understanding between species? That's the real superpower." Captain Thorse watched the exchange with ancient eyes that had seen countless battles across countless worlds. He'd fought against humans once. Long ago. Before the Accord. He'd learned the hard way what made them dangerous, not their weapons or their technology, but their incomprehensible ability to turn enemies into family. Here was another human, adopting two predator cubs without even thinking about it, turning a moment of embarrassment into a bridge between species. "Clean yourselves up," the captain ordered gently. "Both of you. Then perhaps the human will tell us more about her world." As Kek and Sira scrambled to rinse off the soap, Lyra caught the captain's eye. He nodded once, a gesture of respect between warriors. The cubs didn't understand yet what made humans truly formidable. It wasn't strength, or speed, or protective coatings. It was this. The ability to look at someone completely different, potentially dangerous, and choose connection anyway. Tomorrow, Lyra would introduce them to hot chocolate. Next week, maybe earth music. Eventually, these young Vraxtari would grow into apex predators capable of tearing apart starships. But they'd also be predators who understood that the scariest species in the galaxy defeated its enemies by turning them into friends, one soap bubble mishap at a time.